So first I'll talk about my experience. I 100%, 1,000% believe that my parents are affectionate, because they are. I grew up in a very affectionate household. And so I would say the answer to that is absolutely yes. In terms of community, I mean, from what I've heard, or from what people say, like, people will say that, like, African parents are a little bit harder or may not be as affectionate, etc. But I believe that, it's easier to say that when you have different definitions of affection. I think here in the West, a lot of people prescribe to and have learned this new definition of affection, which is, hugging and telling each other, like, I love you, and, I appreciate you, like words of affirmation, as well as, physical touch and all this other stuff. Like, and when we're talking about family members, even like when it comes to like hugging or handshaking or, things like that, kind of have, and then, spending certain types of quality time where you're talking about certain topics and how you feel and whatnot. Whereas, we may have a different traditionally definition of affection, right? It may not be in the sense of, oh, I love you, or, whatever the equivalent, like French or Mandingo or whatever language it is that you speak, Fulani, etc. term is. It may not be I love you, but it may be like your mom blessing you every single time you get off the phone, right? Your mom blessing you every time you get out the house or anything happens, and wishing you, amazing things, or your dad doing the same thing. So I think, in this community, I've heard a lot of people say, like, no, the stigma of African parents or immigrant parents or whatever the case may be, are not as affectionate, but I do think that a huge part of that misconception, there are some that aren't, and they're hard, but I think there is a big part of the misconception of not affectionate, because there's different definitions of what that means because of the multicultural experience.
Yeah, I agree. So another thing, like, because we kind of talked about it a little bit, right? And then I kind of gave you my perspective on it, right? So are you saying that now, after the conversation, or before, what was your initial like perspective on it? Did you think, from like just speaking with others or talking to other people from the same culture as us, but maybe grew up back home or whatever, or end up coming over here later on and didn't experience some of those things that you did in your, with your parents?
I would say before we had the conversation about it, my thought was, or the way that people have made it seem, or kind of what I said. Seem.
Oh, I thought you said seamer.
The way that people have made it seem is essentially that no, they, African parents, or a lot of African parents are, harder, stricter, less affectionate. And that's in my answer. That's what I said. I said, it may, from people around in the community and stuff like that, you hear people say that, hey, no, their parents are not affectionate, but it may stem from what we discussed. But in that first part of my response, I said, it can appear as if like they're not affectionate, and because that's what a lot of people will voice. A lot of people our generation, and a little bit older, the younger one, like super younger one, I think they're getting some of that affection because parents have been here for a little bit longer. But the common theme that I would hear a lot of people say, especially their fathers, they'll say like, yeah, no, fathers, they didn't really see a lot of affection with the fathers, and then even like between the mothers and the fathers, like the parents together, they didn't see that much affection. Yeah, is what people would say.
And did you lean more towards that, saying, or
no? Because my parents were at the opposite of that.
No. I get that. I'm saying like for like the general consensus, right? Like, did you lean towards more like, okay, maybe that's what it is?
Yeah, to me that's what I kept hearing. So that was, anytime I would kind of give my experience, it's mainly, oh well, no, your case is different, so you don't understand. So for me, I felt, okay, that's 100% not my experience, and I don't agree with it because that's not what I saw. But from what a lot of people are saying, that's their experience. Okay, that's what's out there.
Because the reason why I say that is there's the general consensus. Bless you.
Thank you.
There's the general perspective or idea of narrative of one thing, and also
Yeah,
there's
it
an
was
exception,
definitely
right?
narrative. Mhm.
So, because like people be like me, I'm like, yo, it's not about you. It's about the group in totality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I used to think about that. I was like, yo, like I don't think we're necessarily affectionate. I think we're just strictly business. Like, I'm your dad,
Like
I'm
discipline.
your mom, your brother, your sister. Like, boom, boom, boom. Everything is like functional, like a machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like as time went on, like I started thinking about it. I was like, yo, culture, there's difference in cultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each culture come with, their own like ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our culture, I was like, okay, like if that's the case, if we grew up so harsh, or like let's say there was no affection in the house, how would we really function? Because when I really think about the family dynamic, right? Not just me, but others, right? Or things that we talked about. They were like, yeah, they're not affectionate. And then they would just tell you a story. Yeah, like, I remember one time me and my dad, boom, 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 we did this and did that. Oh, me and my mom did. I'm like, but you don't even think about it. You're saying that there's no affection at home. Then you bring up a scenario or a topic or a situation that happened that was affectionate.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, like, here in the state, in America, like, the way they show affection is they hug, like you said, kiss, being all tender and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it might not be that, and that don't mean we're not affectionate. We just have different ways of showing it.
Mm-hmm.
So because we're multicultural, because we come from one culture and then we end up moving to another country that also have their own culture, like can become a little confusing if you're not careful,
Yeah.
right? Because you like, okay, oh, this is what affection is. Yes, it is. That's affection for them, but
Yeah.
for us, it's different. I told Amina, I'm like, yo, imagine being back home. You're going to I can't remember what's the name of it. Like,
Farm.
like, yeah, let's go. You going farming with your pops,
Yeah.
or what you call it, probably building something with your pops.
Mm-hmm.
That's like. That's a way of showing affection. Or sitting down with your pops. He's telling you stories. He's telling you the way you carry yourself and all of that. Even the simplest, people are like, oh, that's not affection. Even caring or even taking care of somebody is showing affection, right? Like it's completely different because here you see the kisses and hug. You're like, okay, that's affection. Not that the fact that you don't see that in our culture, you automatically believe that we don't show affection. And to me, that's where I kind of disagree until we started peeling the layers one by one, and then you get to see that, okay, there's affection there. It's just completely different from the other culture, or the American culture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I really feel, because I know the general consensus is that we're not affectionate. Even with this, people are going to say, yo, we're not. I just want you to sit back and just think about it. When they say affection, what are you really looking for? What are you expecting, right? Because the kisses and hugs that's not the only way. There's different ways, of doing it. Because me sitting down with my dad, him telling me stories, or sitting down with my uncles or my aunties back home, they're telling us stories or whatever, or or giving us. Remember, like on Clubhouse, we used to play these games called like riddles, right?
Riddles,
and then we usually get that from the elders, right? And they have like double meaning and double entendre. Like those are all showing affection. You guys laughing, or you walking to the mosque with your pops. Like he probably holding your hands. Like, oh no, I'm gonna make sure you don't run and cross the street and get hit by a car. That's all showing affection. Caring, respect is affection. So it's like you gotta dig deep and to really analyze what you're looking for. Because without those affection, I don't think we'll be caring and loving people, because I believe our community, like, we're very loving and caring, right? So the other culture too. So it's just the mentality of one culture and other culture doesn't really align all the way. So then instead of making comparison to apply that to one culture, which one culture doesn't work that way. So pretty much that's how I feel about it.
I agree.
Do you have anything to add on?